They always said I was the strong one, the dependable one, the one who always knew what to do. So I did. I paid the bills, drove them to every doctor's appointment, fixed the roof when it leaked, even when I had to miss work. And not once did I ask for anything in return. But they left everything to her. My sister, the one who shows up twice a year, posts a selfie with mom, and disappears when things get hard. I found the will by accident, a plain white envelope in my mother's drawer. They didn't even bother hiding it. I didn't scream. I didn't confront them. I just stopped helping. A month later, my phone rang. It was my mom. Her voice soft, almost guilty. "Sweetie, the utility bills came." And what I said next, that's the moment everything changed. For as long as I can remember, I've been the reliable daughter. Not the fun one, not the favorite, just the one who handled things. When Dad's blood pressure spiked in the middle of the night, I was the one who drove him to the ER. When the roof leaked during winter, I called the contractors and paid the invoice. When Mom forgot the insurance payment again, I called, apologized, and wired the money. No one ever asked if I was okay. They just assumed I would be. Emma, my sister, is the golden one, the one with potential, according to my mother. She paints, she creates. Mostly she posts vague poetry on Instagram and lives in a different city, only showing up when there's cake or gifts involved. Still, every family dinner ended the same way. Mom would sigh, "Emma just needs more time. She's sensitive." Then she'd look at me and smile. "You, Lena, you've always been the strong one." Funny how strong eventually just means used. But I said nothing. I kept showing up, paying bills, solving problems. I told myself, at least they're safe. At least they're not alone. Until that day, that one afternoon, when I opened a drawer looking for insurance papers and found something else instead. A white envelope, one line written in my mother's handwriting. Last will. What I found inside changed everything, but we'll get to that. If any of this already feels a little too familiar, if you've ever been the one who holds the whole damn thing together while everyone else gets the praise, you're not alone. Go ahead, take a breath. And when you're ready, hit part 2, because what came next wasn't loud, wasn't violent, but it shook everything they thought they could take for granted. Let's keep going. I wasn't supposed to see it. I wasn't even looking for anything secret. Mom had asked me to find her Medicare card in the drawer beside the fridge. I opened it, expecting old receipts and junk mail. But what I found was a white envelope, thick, handwritten. Last will and testament. My first instinct? Put it back. Not my business, right? But then again, hadn't everything in that house become my business over the years? So I opened it. Just one page, one signature, and 5 lines that hit harder than any scream ever could. The house, the lake property, the savings account, all of it to Emma. There wasn't even a mention of me. Not a thank you, not a token gesture, nothing. Just a clean cut, like I didn't exist. My first reaction wasn't anger. It was stillness, a kind of cold clarity. I closed the envelope, put it exactly where I found it, and walked out of the house without a word. Didn't finish dinner, didn't explain, didn't pay the bills that were due that Friday. It wasn't revenge, it was a reset. For once, I wanted to know what would happen if I just stopped being their safety net, stopped showing up without being asked, stopped being the strong one. At first, the silence felt unnatural. I checked my phone out of habit, half expecting a passive-aggressive text like, The water bill came again. Sweetie. But there was nothing, just silence. Until 2 weeks later, when the first crack appeared. Mom called. No hi, no small talk. Just, sweetie, the utility bills came. Did you forget? I didn't answer right away. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But then I remembered the envelope, the decision, the erasure. I took a breath and said, you should probably ask Emma. I hear she owns everything now. Click. And just like that, the balance shifted. What happened next? Well, let's just say, when the strong one goes silent, the whole house starts shaking. The next few days were quiet, too quiet, no follow-up calls, no guilt-tripping texts, just silence. I imagined Mom rationalizing it. She's just busy. She always comes around. And maybe that was true. For years, I always did. But not this time. 3 days later, the gas was shut off. A week after that, no internet. Mom tried logging into the online utility account, but she never knew the password. She called the company, only to realize everything had been in my name. Then the calls started again. First, a polite voicemail. Hey, honey, just wondering if maybe there was a mix-up this month. Then another, less gentle. Lena, this is serious. We're cold and we can't even call the doctor. This isn't like you. They were right. It wasn't like me. And that's exactly why it was working. Emma finally texted, short and sweet. Are you seriously punishing them? Grow up. I didn't reply. A day later, she called. I let it ring out. She called again and again. On the fourth try, I picked up. Didn't say anything. She launched in. Look, Mom's freaking out. The bills, the doctor stuff, all of it. What's your problem? I just said calmly, you're the heir, remember? This is your problem now. There was a pause. Then she snapped. You're being dramatic. You're jealous. You think money replaces family? I almost laughed. No, Emma. I think respect replaces family, and I haven't had that in years. Click. The silence after that was louder than any shouting match. And as the days passed, things got worse for them. The heating broke. Dad's medication ran out. Mom tried asking a neighbor for help, but everyone thought we were the perfect family. Perfect families don't beg. The image they built, the one where Emma was the heart and I was the backbone, it started crumbling, not with a scream, but with a slow, public unraveling. And then it happened. A family gathering, one I wasn't supposed to attend. But I did, quietly, calmly, just in time to watch the truth finally snap wide open. It was Aunt Marianne's 70th birthday, a small garden party, mostly family. I hadn't planned to go. Honestly, I was done playing the good daughter in a room full of people who never asked me how I was doing. But then I got a text from Marianne herself. Would love to see you there, sweetie. Haven't in so long. And for some reason, I went. Not to make a scene, just to show up as me. The moment I walked in, heads turned. Mom blinked like she'd seen a ghost. Emma nearly dropped her wine glass. I nodded, polite, calm, and took a seat on the far end of the patio. Didn't say much, just watched. It took about 30 minutes before people started noticing something was off. Didn't you say Lena was living overseas now? Someone asked Mom. Oh, well, she's been busy, Mom replied, eyes darting. Emma jumped in, trying to steer the conversation. Yeah, Lena's had a lot going on. She's taking time for herself. Then Marianne, bless her heart, chimed in. I heard the utilities got cut off at your house last month. Everything okay? You could hear a fork drop. Emma stiffened. Mom forced a smile. It was just a mix-up. Lena always handles those things, but I raised my glass slightly. Not anymore. Silence. Then I added, just loud enough. Turns out, when you're erased from the will, you're allowed to erase yourself from the responsibility too. The room shifted. Someone coughed. A few eyes widened. Emma's face flushed red. I didn't stay long after that. Didn't need to. The truth was already out. And this time, it didn't come from me yelling. It came from their silence. That night, I slept deeper than I had in months. But life doesn't stay still. 2 weeks later, I got a call. Not from Mom, not from Emma. It was the hospital. Dad had collapsed. Blood pressure, heart complications. They needed someone to authorize emergency care. And despite everything, they still had my number listed. I stared at the screen, heart racing. Part of me wanted to ignore it. But another part, the part that still remembered the man who used to read me bedtime stories, she couldn't. It was Aunt Marianne's 70th birthday. A small garden party, mostly family. I hadn't planned to go. Honestly, I was done playing the good daughter in a room full of people who never asked me how I was doing. But then I got a text from Marianne herself. Would love to see you there, sweetie. Haven't in so long. And for some reason, I went. Not to make a scene, just to show up as me. The moment I walked in, heads turned. Mom blinked like she'd seen a ghost. Emma nearly dropped her wine glass. I nodded, polite, calm, and took a seat on the far end of the patio. Didn't say much, just watched. It took about 30 minutes before people started noticing something was off. Didn't you say Lena was living overseas now? Someone asked Mom. Oh, well, she's been busy, Mom replied, eyes darting. Emma jumped in, trying to steer the conversation. Yeah, Lena's had a lot going on. She's taking time for herself. Then Marianne, bless her heart, chimed in. I heard the utilities got cut off at your house last month. Everything okay? You could hear a fork drop. Emma stiffened. Mom forced a smile. It was just a mix-up. Lena always handles those things. But I raised my glass slightly. Not anymore. Silence. Then I added, just loud enough. Turns out, when you're erased from the will, you're allowed to erase yourself from the responsibility too. The room shifted. Someone coughed. A few eyes widened. Emma's face flushed red. I didn't stay long after that. Didn't need to. The truth was already out. And this time, it didn't come from me yelling. It came from their silence. That night, I slept deeper than I had in months. But life doesn't stay still. 2 weeks later, I got a call. Not from Mom, not from Emma. It was the hospital. Dad had collapsed. Blood pressure, heart complications. They needed someone to authorize emergency care. And despite everything, they still had my number listed. I stared at the screen, heart racing. Part of me wanted to ignore it. But another part, the part that still remembered the man who used to read me bedtime stories, she couldn't. Hospital lights were harsh, the kind that made everything feel colder than it already was. I arrived 20 minutes after the call. No one else was there. No Emma, no Mom, just a nurse waiting with a clipboard and a pen. Are you Lena? She asked. I nodded. Your father needs emergency surgery. He's stable, but we need consent and a deposit. I stared at the paper. The same hands that had paid every dentist bill, every specialist visit, every refill for Dad's meds, were now holding a pen that would cost me more than just money. I signed, not because I forgave them, not because they deserved it, but because I couldn't walk away from the man who once taught me how to ride a bike, even if he forgot how to show gratitude later in life. Hours passed, surgery successful. Emma showed up sometime after dawn, sunglasses on, No explanation. Mom followed soon after, eyes red, voice trembling. Lena, thank you. I don't even know what to say. I didn't answer, because the truth is, there's nothing they can say that undoes years of being taken for granted. But I wasn't there for closure. I was there to make sure the man who raised me didn't die without a chance to do better. Later, as I left the hospital and stepped out into the morning light, I didn't feel heroic. I felt tired, but something had shifted. I wasn't the daughter who did everything anymore. I was just me. And maybe for the first time, that was enough. I didn't go back to the house, didn't check the mailbox, didn't log into the utility accounts. Instead, I went home, poured myself a cup of coffee, and opened my laptop. There was a pottery class I'd been meaning to sign up for since forever. And this time, I clicked register, because the final chapter of this story isn't about fixing them. It's about choosing me. The pottery studio was nothing fancy. A converted garage with peeling walls and a radio that only played old jazz. But when my hands touched the clay, something softened. For the first time in years, I wasn't fixing anything. I was just creating. Week by week, I shaped bowls, mugs, small vases, some wobbly, some cracked, but all mine. And slowly, so was my life. Mom called once in a while, not to ask for help, just to say hello. Her tone changed, softer, unsure. Maybe she still didn't fully understand what she'd done, but at least she stopped expecting me to save her. Emma didn't reach out, not really. She sent a message once. Hope you're well. I left it on red, not out of cruelty, just peace. Dad recovered. We've spoken a few times, mostly about neutral things, the weather, a new coffee place he tried. He hasn't brought up the will. Neither have I, because I'm not waiting for them to undo the past. I'm just not letting it define me anymore. One afternoon, while glazing a bowl I really liked, I caught myself smiling, not because everything was fine, but because I was no longer the one making it fine for everyone else. I think that's what healing actually looks like. Not a big, dramatic confrontation, just choosing differently, quietly, every day. If you've ever been the one holding the weight of a family that forgot to say thank you, if you've ever been written out of the story but still showed up when it mattered, I see you. And if this story resonated with you, even just a little, drop a comment. Tell me where you're listening from, or tell me the moment you realized it was time to stop saving people who never offered you a life raft. Because you deserve more than silent sacrifice. You deserve peace. And sometimes, peace starts with walking away. Thanks for being here. And if you're still holding the pen to your own story, don't hand it over again. Not this time.